Out Reptiles. Well, let me tell you something. If there is one difficulty that I have in working with Retics, is that it's a major violation of the 10% rule. Of course, all of you intelligent people out there understand that the 10% rule states that you should be 10% smarter than what you're working with. And since I'm in violation with that, yeah, we have a tough time. It's like this little tom-belonging girl over here. She's just too smart for me, too cool for school. You know how it goes. Anyways, I'm Garrett Hartle. Welcome back to the channel, or welcome to the channel if this is your first time. If you're watching this after the fact, we go live every Wednesday at 6 o'clock Eastern. That'd be 3 o'clock if you're in California, and you can figure out if you're in between. Right as soon as this live ends, we're actually going to make a post on our YouTube, like a community tab post. It's just the picture kind, and you can comment all your questions if we didn't get to any of them here, so that we can address those things next week. All right. Or, of course, you can throw up a super chat. Thank you for your support in advance. We'll act silly for some reason. I really don't know how that got started. How did that get started, Thomas? Pretty sure that was before your time.
I'm not sure. I just remember watching a live stream and someone said super chat, and then you just spun in a circle, and I was like, what did I tune into?
I'm pretty sure it was just Rob being his normal ridiculous, and then it kind of stuck. So, except that he's never here during lives anymore. So I'm forced to fill his shoes, or should I say his yoga pants. I don't know. But at any rate, you can shout out a super chat on there, and we'll go ahead and answer it right here on the live.
We got a lot of people saying it was dope to meet everyone. So do you want to just kind of mention what happened this last weekend?
Well, does that preview our video that's going up on Friday?
Yeah, you can just tease the video for this week.
Okay. We may or may not have had a Patreon-only event. So we have a Patreon channel. For those of you guys that don't know, tons of behind-the-scenes stuff happening. And this past weekend, we had more than 50 people out here at the house from all over the country. We were going to move to a new facility. Now, know what to do with.
Our internet is dying.
Shouldn't be. Hello, hello.
I think we're back.
There we go. Hello.
It says we're good on this side.
Oh, okay, good. All right, yeah, I was just saying, like, animal intelligence is a little bit tricky thing to define from the get-go. But yeah, Tristan's saying some people say they're smart, some people say they're dumb. I think the difference here is between intelligence and wisdom. Retics are exceptionally intelligent when it comes to, like problem solving, that kind of stuff. They're amazing how they can learn your mannerisms, even the mannerisms between different people in the household. They have favorite keepers versus less favorite keepers. They act differently. They can recognize you versus someone else. They definitely learn your routines, predict what you're going to do next. They will manipulate you if you let them. If they can, kind of train you, with any animal relationship, you want to be training the animal and working with it to your mutual benefit. But these animals are the type that will train you in regards to, like, if they can get you to respect them or fear them or whatever, they'll use that to their advantage and manipulate you to get what they want. And then if you don't allow them to do that, they figure that out pretty quick too. So that's always interesting to see. I would say where people say that they're dumb is that difference between intelligence and wisdom, right? So dumb would be like thinking that you can escape through this little crack that's designed into your cage that lets air through and constantly pushing your face in there until you have a problem. That seems pretty stupid. Things like that, I don't know, the animals, they get fixated on stuff, They have something that they want to accomplish and they just go for it. So whatever it is, you'll see one snake that ends up spreading its poo all over the cage or something like that because it's trying to redecorate or whatever. I don't know, that it has to live in its poo until cleaning day or whatever the case may be. Gosh, my voice is kind of gone. Are you catching that? It was a long weekend. It was a good weekend. But yeah, so that's my take on it. I think they are very, very highly intelligent. Some of them can be pretty dumb with the decisions that they make. But that's just like a lot of humans. I mean, humans are highly intelligent. Raise your hand in the comments section there if you ever knew anyone that made any bad decisions despite being intelligent people. Seems like it happens a lot.
Lori Turini says, from my experience, SD retics are intelligent, relatively speaking. However, occasionally they lack motivation to do what you want them to do.
There you go. There you go. Well,
Well put statement.
you know, it's funny. That's what they say about a lot of the most intelligent dog breeds and stuff too. There's a difference. Some of them are average intelligence, but highly motivated, and they really, are great dogs to work with. And then some of them are highly intelligent, and they're like, nah, I ain't doing that. So it could be that. Yeah.
Bob Evans does say the Dalmatian of the reptile world. So
There you go. There you go.
someone else asked, "Are you going to be at the Wilbanks barbecue this weekend?"
Not I. We did our own barbecue. I'm done. Cusco's there. He's going to represent. So it should be pretty fun.
All right, so let's jump into another question. We got one from Ryan Hood on the Patreon post. He said, "Do you think Retics learn to recognize individual people?"
Yep. Kind of already touched on that. Yes, they do. They definitely do. We here as keepers, like between Rob, myself, say Aiden or Jess, have different relationships with the animals that we're keeping. We all kind of have our favorites, and it's funny, like Aiden's favorite snake that he says is so sweet is one that Rob is like, oh, I hate the way that snake looks at me. I don't like that snake at all. And the animals act differently with different keepers and stuff like that. So they certainly do. And then there's kind of like a generic way that they act. So male retics will act differently with female keepers than with male keepers, and stuff like that. It was pretty interesting. Actually, I think girl with scales, Summer Mitchell, actually was out, and we had one male retic that we pulled out from a breeding scenario, and we had him out in the yard and giving him some sun and stuff, and she's petting him, and he's arching, throwing arches real big and stuff like that, like, hey, baby, how's it going, and he does not do that with me. So am I not as cute as Summer? Apparently, to the eyes of a retic, I guess not.
All right, we got a question from Tristan Cowder. It says, "Have you noticed a difference in the intelligence of a dwarf and super dwarf compared to mainlands?"
As far as intelligence goes, I don't know. I think it would be pretty minute, They probably have different, like Lori was talking about, maybe different motivation levels and things like that. Super dwarves seem to be, I don't know if you can see this little Tom belonging girl, but she's just super curious. She's cruising. She doesn't, get as bored with stuff, I think, as quickly as a lot of the mainlands do. So yeah, I don't know. Thomas, you noticed when we had Rob's big mainland girl that is a 18 plus foot monster that he bought it that was originally sold at a local reptile show right around here that just got to be huge, versus like our pure Karampa male that we took outside, and they were two totally different animals outside. One was on the go the whole time, one was a lot slower. I don't know that I could say that represents any kind of intelligence though. So I don't know. I think they're just doing more. So maybe they seem more intelligent because they're more active, but I don't know that actually equates. I'm not sure.
Lori Serini says, "Yes, they recognize individuals. We have run into that issue when I have to ask a second person to cue a behavior while I'm doing something else. TC ignored the new handler and remained focused on me." Super chat.
Super chat.
Martial Law Morphs.
Hold on, I got a super chat for you guys. I came prepared. If you guys want to be on a super chat, shoot me a text with your super chat dance, and keep the music out of it because we'll get demonetized.
Let me drop
Thomas?
your number in the chat. What is it?
It's 412-925-1933. Hold on a second. Let me see. Where's my super chat one? There we go. All right, here we go. Maybe not. Where'd it go? There it is. I'll learn how to use this phone eventually. Oh my goodness. Garrison, that's my older son. You'll have to forgive him. Sometimes he takes after his old man. All right.
So Martial Law Morph says, "Hey Garrett, just wanted to thank you a million times. My Kalatoa boy made it today. He's absolutely beautiful and so special in so many ways. I can't put into words how honored I am to have him."
That's awesome, Marshall. Yeah, I'm glad you got that guy. That was pretty cool. Marshall just ended up with one of the few reach dreams line animals that we put out, and I think he had a pretty long wait to get there. So that was pretty cool. So all right, appreciate you, bro. What was your question? Can you go back to the other one? I totally forgot it now.
The one before this?
Yeah. Before we super chatted.
So it was talking about recognizing individual people.
Oh no, yeah, we're past that. Lori answered that in the chat too. She saw
yep.
the same thing with training.
We've kind of touched on like most aspects of retic intelligence, I feel like, but here's a quick one. What do you think the best way to measure reptile intelligence, considering that mammalian pet intelligence is based off learning commands?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. So like that, Lori does work with that. You can actually teach reptiles commands, and they can learn that and adapt and do that stuff. But I don't know that, we as humans have a very good judgment of intelligence. I think because we place ourselves at the top and we say whoever thinks the most like us is the most intelligent. I don't know if that's the right scale to use. I'm really not sure, because there's a lot of cool things that they can do, but I think it has to do with the adaptability and stuff like that. And I mean, reticulated pythons among reptiles have one of the largest and most diverse natural ranges, huge variety of natural behaviors. So I don't know. I'm going to have to just say that one's above my pay grade.
Here's something I was kind of curious about. What do you think the intelligence differences are between like an F1 versus like the longer you breed it in captivity, like wild caught versus more?
I think they're just geared differently. So like captive bred animals versus wild caught animals, I mean, they just have, I don't think there's a change in intelligence. I think there's a change in their agenda. I mean, the wild caught animals, it's not that they're totally distrusting of humans or anything like that. Like, they can definitely learn to get along well with humans and adapt and do all that kind of stuff, but they're just much more highly independent thinkers. Whereas a lot of the captive bred ones, especially ones here, she's chilling out now. Oh, baby, you're so cute. The captive bred ones are a lot more like, what are we doing today, boss? You know what I mean? And they just kind of, they know that you dictate the routine, and they're just trying to get what they want out of it. You know what I'm saying? So, side note, look at this Tom Belongin's head. She's just starting to get that yellow head. Everyone's always like, well, I want the yellow head ones, and I don't see that on the babies. The babies don't have it. It comes in time. So she's a year old now. But look at that cute little, I call him frog face. Big old bug eyes, super blunt nose, chubby cheeks. Look at those chubby cheeks. Pretty cute. You are cute. Yes, you are.
All right, so I think we touched on a lot of the questions covering snake intelligence, unless you think there's something worth mentioning about it to round it out. We can get into some more random questions. And then if you guys want to ask some questions, super chat them or throw them in there. We'll try and get to them.
Yeah, the big thing, all I would say is that I wish there were more stuff done. I mean, we talk about Lori a lot on this channel because she's doing the behavioral studies and stuff like that. She has a super dwarf from us that she's using alongside other species and stuff like that. But I mean, there's so much that I just feel like there's a very kind of like old school keeper mentality that prevails. Like we take such small steps forward. I mean, if you go a few steps back, people are like, oh, and a lot of the general public still thinks this. They're like, oh, reptiles don't even have feelings. You know what I mean? And so they do horrible, abusive things to the animals because they think they can't feel pain. That's ridiculous. It's been proven false. It's not true at all. But it still prevails because people are like, well, I've heard that. And they don't make facial expressions, so they can't tell me in the way that I communicate that they're in pain. So I don't believe it, And I mean, there's just so many things that we don't understand about things like the animal's social structures. You know what I mean? Do they maintain territories? We're just starting to learn about some of the more heavily species like Boland's pythons. But with retics, I mean, do they have territories? How do they manage that? Is there a hierarchy among males, among females? Do they return to mate with the same animals there's just a ton of stuff that we have no clue on their lives. And I think it's a little bit crazy to go in there and start assuming that we can say that we know so much about these animals when it's all based on assumptions. You know what I mean? It's just, I wish we would, there's so much to learn, you know. I've been keeping these guys for 20 years, and after 20 years, what I realize is just how much knowledge there is left to be gained, you know, and how relatively little each of our contribution is just because of the time it takes. I mean, in 20 years, I've learned a few things about keeping super dwarfs or breeding them or selective breeding and results and stuff like that, but it pales in comparison to what is left to be learned. And I'd love to see more people just dedicated to the acquisition of that kind of knowledge. It helps us, you know, so often, you know, so.
All right. Do you want to depart from snake intelligence for a bit?
Sure.
All right.
Let's do it.
So here's some random ones from the YouTube post. And just a reminder to people, the YouTube post that we put up in our community page is one of the best ways for us to be able to get to your questions. Because we'll look at your questions in the chat, but it just lowers the chance that we'll actually miss it. So if you guys want to do that, right after the live, we'll have a post going up, and you guys can throw any questions we didn't get to there or anything throughout the rest of the week until next week's live. But question from Anna Kevlin says, where would you keep a snake in a house with an open floor plan? How much house activity is too much, generally speaking, assuming the snake is F3 or higher?
I'm not a fan of keeping a snake in like a living room. You know, we had one guy that he's like, I don't understand what's going on with my animal. It was fine when it came in. It was eating good. Everything seemed fine. And I'm trying to help him troubleshoot, like, why does his retic stop eating? That's not a normal thing. And I'm asking him temperature, humidity, show me pictures of the cage. Everything looks good. And eventually one day he sent an additional picture of the cage, and it was far back enough that I could see that the cage was actually sitting on top of the bass speaker for an entertainment system. And this poor snake is just getting blasted every time this guy's watching movies, and it just started to get so stressed out.
Super chat.
So,
Duran
super
visual
chat.
variant.
What's up? Okay, hold on. I got one from my younger son. We'll see if he's any better than the older one. You ready? Good job, Finley.
It's much more freestyle. Harrison just kind of threw it back, but
Yeah.
Finley's like getting into the emotion of it.
Oh, he definitely does. Yeah, if I could dance like Finley,
so Duran didn't
we'd
ask
have
a
way more
question.
super chats.
He just said whether your snakes are smart or dumb, you should still hit the like button. And
Thanks.
You know what, Duran? You're not wrong.
Hit the like button. 67 watching now. 23 likes on my screen.
Oh, let me refresh.
Half of our people hate us.
Yeah, that's what I got.
It's the only way we know that we like you guys is if you hit the like button. We live for that little clicky
Please
button.
help our sensitive egos.
Just kidding. Oh, we got some really good chat going over there. I did see somebody asking. Hold on, let me see who this was.
Backline Kennel and Reptiles.
SoCal wants to know if I still remember his number. I do. One of these days I'll have a moment to like talk with people, and then I'll be able to afford luxuries like friends. You should come work here, so then we can hang out all the time. Ethan Brown was that saying, what do I think about the Super Timors that were produced recently? I mean, so what he's talking about is somebody bred a Super Dwarf to a Timor Python. I'm not against hybrids in captivity. I don't think that there's necessarily anything wrong with that, or that it is any more detrimental for any of the animals than, say, you know, breeding morphs or anything like that. I mean, this is a pure Tombolongan. I think that is something that is really, truly special. But we also, last year, took a Tombolongan and ran it to a Phantom because we wanted to see what the additional infuse of color is. So I don't really see any difference there. It's a little bit wider of a spread. My personal opinion is if a hybrid is really far, it's way more interesting to me than two snakes within a genus. You know, so it's kind of like among short-tailed pythons and blood pythons. If you breed like a Borneo short-tailed python to a red blood python, that really doesn't interest me. I think you get a less than either parent species. But if you breed, I remember seeing a carpet python crossed with a red blood python, and that was crazy. And just the fact that I told you that, if you haven't seen it now, doesn't it kind of make you want to Google the image? So if your curiosity is piqued, I don't think you can really judge the people who are doing that. Their curiosity is just such that they followed through to see what it would look like. So I don't have any problems with that. They called it Super Timor because it was a super dwarf and a Timor python. I kind of don't like the idea of giving up a pure locality super dwarf for a hybrid, because there's just not enough of them to go around anyway. And even more so, probably, I don't know about more so, but at least equally as important would be somebody maintaining like pure Timor pythons. Timors are very rarely bred. You know, you only see a couple clutches a year in the US. So I would say, instead of like skip the thing, I would like to see people who are making these rare species hybrids, I'd say at least put in the work to have bred both parent species. If you're like, oh yeah, I've got the Timors on lockdown, we produce 10 clutches of those a year, and then go do it. But this is all personal opinion and really has no bearing on whether or not the practice of that is right or wrong. It's just how I feel about it. And it's not the first time that they were made either. They actually were named Keju originally by Indonesian breeders who had pulled off that hybrid first. I don't even think they were the first in the U.S. because, as I recall, Aubrey Pruitt used to have one that he produced. So I could be wrong on that, but I don't think they were first or anything like that. I mean, they're kind of cool, but I don't know. You guys go back, watch our video from last week where we went to MJ's house. He had some pure Timors. We got some beauty shots of them, right? That made it into the clip. I am freaking in love with Timor pythons. I think they're so cool. And I absolutely love these locality retics. They're just so cool. And I would rather see a tiny variation in the pattern, like, ooh, look, extra strong donuts on that part of my Tom Malongan, versus, you know, trying to make something really crazy like a hybrid. I am interested in seeing them, so I don't condemn it. I don't think there's anything wrong with it for captivity. But just like anything else, there are, you know, ethical and unethical ways to breed it. So I don't know. I would talk to people, and if you guys are considering, I joined a hybrid page on Face Group one time, and I was like, oh, this will be really cool. I'd like to learn more about what hybrids are out there. What it really interests me is kind of like how interrelated the animals are. Like, for example, I don't care about Burmese pythons or ball pythons all that much, but the fact that they made a Burm ball blows my mind. You know, that you have this Asian and African clade of pythons crossing and producing viable offspring. That is insane to me, and I love to see how they turn out. I think that one's really cool. Yeah, I don't know. My thought on the Keju pythons, I just think it looks a little bit more like a dirty retic or a watered down Timor. So probably not my favorite. If you were going to breed, I mean, put a retic to a ball python. That would be far more interesting to me. Or a green tree python or a red blood python. And if that sounds like sacrilegious to you, I mean, that's cool. But there's my opinion. So people ask me that a lot. I figured I would go on a little rant here for you guys.
Daniel Noss says SD Bat Eaters ? I kid. Kind of.
A lot of people have talked about that because you have dwarf Burmese, the Prague Shy, and you have the super dwarfs. Sal Daddy did do that. They had, I think they were like 25% dwarf or something, but he did it. The one thing I think people miss when they do hybrid projects that Sal didn't in that crossing was he took, I believe it was Sunfire Het Purple from the retic side, and he crossed it into Hypo Burmese. Well, there's nothing, you know, that Hypo Burmese is not in retics unless it ends up being allelic with something like Phantom or whatever. But I would take, like, for example, if I was going to run a ball python to a retic, I'd want to put something like Pinstripe in there, you know, something that retics don't have, banana, you know, and then I think it would be really cool to take that 50-50 and run it back into the retics until you have the obvious morph genetics. It's like our Snow Project stuff that we have like 6% mainland in now, and they still carry the albino gene. Wouldn't it be cool if you bred almost all the ball python out, but you were still making lemon blasts or something? I don't know. That stuff is interesting to me, but they're such hit and miss projects and stuff. It's more of a curiosity and definitely an outlier. So I don't know. I mean, I think it's cool. Keep up the good work. You guys do that. I would say that the same genus crosses, it's just less interesting. It's a little bit lazy. Like, I mean, you kind of know they're going to breed. It's not that difficult compared to something like a bat eater that's a Burmese and a retic, where they're totally unrelated. So, I don't know, a little bit less interesting to me. On the other hand, you could easily just say, hey, if you live in a glass house, don't throw stones, Garrett. You're doing, subspecies stuff. And if they ended up reclassifying super dwarves, say, into their own species, then I've been doing the exact same thing all along, breeding these mainland morphs in. So, like I said, I don't really condemn the practice. Those are just kind of my opinions on those particular projects, So, but they're interesting.
Ryan Hood says, how about a bulldog and a Shih Tzu mix?
Bulldog Shih Tzu? Ha ha ha, I get where you're going with that. All right, moving on. You might go a little bit further, and you're going to have to put one in. This is let me see if I can get it on the screen right here. That's our swear jar for the shop right here.
That little tape says
profanity. Right there. So watch yourself, Ryan. It's a
see
family.
How empty that is?
It says peanut butter profanity on it.
It does. It's quite empty.
There you go.
Tanner Simonson says, in 20 years we'll be talking about the ethics of using CRISPR gene editing in the hobby. That'd be interesting. The whole gene engineering stuff that's been going on.
Yeah. It would be kind of cool. I mean, I don't know. I'm all for pushing science, trying new stuff, things like that. It's about information discovery to me. So, and if you're doing stuff for a captive environment, you're really not hurting anything. I just feel like it would be, you could really easily build yourself a respectable reputation within the reptile industry if you were to nail how to breed Timor pythons, put up a channel like ours with 400 videos on how to do that, help and teach other people to do that, preserve the species, dig into what localities they're actually coming from, do some selective breeding. I don't know. I just don't know that you have to, go out with that particular species. Like I said, some are more interesting than others. I don't know.
Ham Fractals asked, should retics have a variety in their diet? Chicks, quails, pigs, and rabbits. Pretty sure we answered that question last week.
Yeah, we do a lot of variety in our diets for retics. The one thing I would say is the one way to not do that is you got your new baby and you're trying to throw it a different food item every week before you even have it established. Just get it set up, eating on a regular routine with whatever kind of food item your animal is taking with a gusto. And if you want to add variety to it later on, yeah, go for it. We definitely do a lot. I love especially the Repti Links. I think is a great product. So you can offer them things like rabbit and iguana meat or something like that for variety. And I think it's pretty cool. I think they probably would take those opportunistic meals in the wild, and it just, I don't know, mixes them up. Every now and then I want to go get some Chinese food, Ain't nothing wrong with that. Give them something interesting. Retics eat, sleep, and breathe about when they're going to eat again, And so it's very important to them. So adding that kind of variety would be great. Were you shouting something out to me here? Is there something you want me to see?
No, I was just mentioning Clint's in the chat. He asks, how intelligent would dolphins think that we are?
Very intelligent. Yeah, especially if they talk to me, Clint. Any dolphin would be like, wow, this human is so trainable. Squeaks wherever he moves. So obviously, judging by their standard, the squeakier you are. Listen, I'm pretty much this chair right here is dolphin language going at it. I'm just portraying Morse code. They can break that. They understand. I'm the dolphin whisperer. I put a lot of time into interactions with dolphins. Like that time at SeaWorld where they pretended the keeper fell in and I didn't get the joke, and I was literally running to the front to dive in the tank, and in my adrenaline from the time from my chair to the tank, I feel like we might be getting off topic here.
No, keep going. I don't know if I've heard this one.
From the chair to the tank, I was thinking, okay, how do you kill a dolphin in its native environment? Because they made it like this dolphin had grabbed a trainer and pulled her underwater. And I don't want to kill the dolphin, but the dolphin needs to let that girl go because she's been underwater for a while. And I'm like, I could just stick my thumb right in the blowhole. That'll do it.
Oh, yeah.
Open it up,
all right.
choke it underwater. So I've got them figured out, Clint. I've got them figured out.
Oh man, that went a lot deeper than I thought it was gonna go.
That was just for you.
Perfect. All right. We had a question earlier. I don't know how much you want to talk about house snakes on stream, but someone asked, "What house snakes are you working with?" I'm interested in them because of something you said in a previous stream.
Yeah, I mean, we love the house snakes. They're cool. It's a huge, diverse genus. The ones that you most commonly see are cheap imports. I would say probably stay away from those unless you're literally someone that has like a huge captive bred collection. Yeah, Clint, that did take a dark turn. Yeah. But unless you have a huge collection and you're trying to add genetic diversity, if you're just going out there to get a few pets or start something, stick with captive bred. And my personal opinion on like the best species of house snakes that is really gaining a lot of popularity, the prices are going up. That's something that you don't see in a lot of reptiles. It kind of seems like history repeating itself with the super dwarves a little bit. Would be the Cape house snakes, Capensis. They have localities, they have morphs all within that species. They're like little pythons, they're super intelligent. We could probably pull one out for a little while.
So which ones?
Yeah, the house snakes. I'll go grab one. You want to bring it back?
Sure. Quinn says, "I'm excited to know that you are the dolphin whisperer."
The dolphin whisperer.
It might have been a dolphin whisperer.
Slash blowhole unplugger, if need be. If need be. I think my wife and I were dating at that time, and she was a little bit shocked how quick to action I was, I think. I don't think she really understood this. All right, so this is a house snake right here. This is one of the Capensis. He's a young male. They have a very python-like head, especially as they grow into it. Genus Boaden. I could show you, take a look at, so this is your kind of typical pattern for Capensis. They have this little bit of a giraffe pattern. They're pretty cool. We'll go on a little bit of a tangent here. I'm okay with that. So if you take Capensis now and you make it albino, this one's actually a sunglow. So
sit on Rob's fancy
it'd be a
chair.
hypo albino. Oh, I gotta get through all the snakes.
Oh, that's true.
All right, so like as they get bigger, like look at the more python head. This thing starting to look like a spotted python or like a children's python. Clint's Reptiles should definitely do a house snake, best pet snake episode, but he won't come visit, so he can't. But you see kind of the washed out and muted colors of this one. Then you have something called KZN locality. We've got two of them in here breeding right now. KZN stands for it's KZN if you're South African, but it stands for KwaZulu Natal, and it is a locality. But look at the python like head of this thing. These are like little mini pythons. See the fat cheeks and the skinny noses. And this girl's in blue. Hey baby. But one thing that KZN is known for is like super enhanced like red pigments, and a pattern list that makes it really bold. So what's fun is you can cross those localities like KZN into morphs like this T-positive albino, and you end up with this. This would be a 50% KZN T-positive albino, and look at the color. Thing looks like a giraffe or something. It's awesome. So these two girls right here.
And it looks more orange in real life. This camera's not even doing it justice.
Yeah, it's a really, really deep red color. So what would be fun for me, being a super dwarf guy, is, okay, this is 50%. Can I run it back to pure locality? KZN makes some 75%ers that are hets and keep going. So there's a lot of brand new morphs that are hitting the scene. That's one of the reasons why, I think this species is going to blow up. I've gotten some behind the scenes peeks on some of the morphs that do exist now and that are currently, in the works as far as becoming established. That's pretty sweet. So, but there's a lot of misinformation. People don't know about this stuff. They just a lot of the information about house snakes is coming from like flippers and things. I'm gonna pull another snake for you guys. What should I pull out to hold while we talk? So, like even Rob we have some of the lineatus, those are the striped house snakes, and he bought something as striped house snakes because they seemed really cheap as adults, and it turned out they were just kind of like a stripy pattern Fuga lineatus. That's the brown house snake. They're the most common. They're imported all the time. I call them fuglies. Those Fuga lineatus. There's nothing wrong with them. They're cool. I just think the Capensis are better. They get a little bit bigger. which some of the house snakes are so small that they probably don't make good pets. So if you can get one with a little oomph to it, then you're doing a little better.
Jody Westover wants to know what the QR codes are for.
The QR codes are for ReptiScan. So we have, records of feeds, sheds, stuff like that we track on all these guys.
And then Clint's Reptiles said, can you come out to film, and I'm going to butcher this word, dolphin, the best pet cetacean? I need someone I can count on to plug that blowhole should things go sideways.
I got you, buddy.
And also Super Chat. From
Super Chat.
Anthony Bautista.
If you guys want to see the Super Chat training lesson that happened while we were at
yeah, you got to bust the dance out.
You're going to have to see it. I can't do the whole thing here.
Oh, come on.
Super Chat it again. All right. Let's see, what's the Super Chat?
Says, how likely do you think...
Here's a Jampea.
Oh,
Different,
cool.
Totally different subspecies of retic as the other one that we had out. Can you tell? Oh, all right. About the same age.
All right. How likely do you think it is that superdwarfs will be classified into their own species? If so, how soon? I need some superdwarfs in New York.
Oh my gosh, wouldn't that be cool if they brought them in New York? So yeah, Anthony, I'll say this: I'm not a scientist, but I will tell you that we have provided a ton of tissue samples and stuff to the scientific community. They are working on that now. I mean, the only two subspecies recognized within retics right now currently are Jampeianus, which are these guys, and Saputrii, which actually came from Slayer Island, but I'm sure it includes those Tombalongans we had out earlier. So these are all from one tiny island chain. You got to realize there's probably going to be a lot more. And, I would say if you can split something like a Borneo short-tail python, the black blood and the red blood python, or Sumatran short-tail python, sorry, black blood people, I'm a little old school still. If you can split those into full species status, you can definitely do this. One we were talking about the other day was like Varanus prasinus and Varanus cordensis. You guys can look those up. They're a couple of the green tree monitors. They have a slightly different pattern, and they are different species. Can you imagine if you had a green tree monitor when most of them get, let's say, 20 to 30 inches long? I mean, I don't know, maybe they're a little broader than that size range. And now all of a sudden you have a green tree monitor that only gets 5 inches long. They would definitely classify that as its own species. So why would they not do something like the Superdwarf retics, where we literally had a mainland out with our Carrampa again, and the Carrampa probably weighs as much as her head. It's crazy to me that they wouldn't be. So yeah, if they did, there might be major implications. Wouldn't that be cool? If all of a sudden, they're their own thing, they're renamed, all that kind of stuff. And just to let you guys know how likely this is, there are already names picked out to name these guys if they're discovered by science. So, if you're working with the pure Superdwarf stuff, you're technically working with an animal that's yet to be discovered by science. So, and I'm not a scientist. I don't know how where they draw the lines. Sometimes they group things together that I think should be separate, or they separate things that I think should be together. But that's all done, again, above my pay grade. All we can do as keepers is try to help promote that wealth of information. So it would be pretty cool if it changed up a few things with legislation, though, wouldn't it? Because, I mean, those tiny animals are so much better suited to captivity for most people than the giant ones. And I am not an advocate of banning the big snakes or anything. I just want people to realize that there are alternatives, that if you like a retic but you don't want the giant one, that there is something that exists, So.
All right, well.
Chip Indo's new to this. He says, what's a good first retic for me? He's super new into this. Guys, Chip Indo obviously has no knowledge of reticulated pythons. I don't know if the sarcasm is coming through here, but Chip, obviously, you need a Carrampa. They are $10,000 a pair, and you're probably going to wait 3 to 5 years to get one, but you're going to need that much time to do your research and learn about the husbandry, and then that's the smallest retic, so you can start your way there and build your way up, buddy. We got you.
Holton Yost says hi. So does Matt Summers. Reptile.
Houston says, is there any chance calicos will be bred down into Superdorf Retics? I have Superdorf calicos. So yes, done. The only thing about that is that calicos are not a reliably reproducible trait. It's not a simple recessive or incomplete dominant or anything. No one really knows exactly how that all works. They do a lot of weird things. It's kind of like a trait that seems to sometimes run in different bloodlines. But at Retic Fest this weekend, I think we have film that, I know you got film of our calico. We have a 50% Calatoa tiger calico that's a male. It's pretty unusual. Actually, I took a picture of him. Sorry, I have it on my phone. Hold on. I could pull him out, but he's cumbersome. He wants to breed right now, and I don't want him to, so I'm kind of leaving him alone. All right, I don't know how well this is going to turn up on here, but these guys fire up light and dark, and they change a lot. You'll be able to see this a lot better if you guys tune in to Friday's video, but that is a Calico Tiger Calatoa right there. So can't see the calico too much except on the lower half, but we'll get you some video footage of it so you know, like up close, so you can actually see what's going on. It's pretty cool.
All right, Andro has asked this question a couple times in the chat. Says, how do you troubleshoot an adult Superdorf male retic? Was a puppy before, now is pure devil. And we do have videos that probably we can
definitely check out some of our training videos. Just go on the reach out. Like, if you guys have a topical question like that, just a tip, you can search within one YouTube page. So jump on to Reach Out Reptiles page, and there's like a main search for YouTube and then a specific search for the page. If you go to the specific search and hit training, you'll get a bunch of them. I would say that if it is a puppy before and it's a devil now, there's something you're doing wrong. Don't take any offense to that. I just think it's one of those kind of like dog whisperer situations where either it's a husbandry thing and the animal's super unhappy, because a lot of times if you get a really well-adjusted animal in the first place, they do well for 3, 4, 5 weeks, depends on what kind of the situation is that it's going to, and it starts to go downhill from there. Or it's something where that animal is, remember I said in the beginning of this video, they're very intelligent and they will train you. If it did something to you and it got the reaction out of you it wanted, let's say, I mean, a classic example would be snake strikes at you and you move away and you put it away. And that's what it wanted. It didn't want to interact with you. It struck at you. You put it away. It's going to learn, hey, all I got to do is strike at him to be put away. You literally rewarded it for that behavior. But if you allow it to strike and you're not affected or fazed by it, and you realize, the snake needs to realize, look, this is not going to be a standard pre-programmed interaction, predator-prey, anything that they're used to. This is something else. And they're going to have to kind of snap out of that mode and start thinking about things. You want to get them thinking about things so that you can develop that relationship. So I don't know what's going on in your situation, but it's likely that it's either something that's going wrong with the animal's husbandry in one form or another, or something that's going wrong with the interactions with the animal, and there's a negative behavior that's being reinforced over time and making that one, that animal think that it's a good idea to do something. So
all right,
Luke is saying it'd be great if retics were litter trained. Blake Stewart has his trained, so to speak. He, I mean, just like with a puppy, you know that thing's going to have to pee in the morning. You take it outside, you say go potty, and it goes potty, right? And it's already doing that anyway. You're just adding a command to a natural behavior. Blake Stewart got to know his cycles, like feeding versus when they would defecate, and he would pick them up and quickly take them outside and put them on his lawn in this specific area. And when the snake would go out there, it would relieve itself because it's now moving. It probably had to go to the bathroom anyways. And he did it enough times that whenever he takes the snakes and he puts them in the grass in that area, they defecate. And he's like, this is great. I do it. He's like, 90% of the time, I'm not cleaning that stuff up out of their cage. I can get them to go outside. So something to think about. I wouldn't assume that they can't be just because it hasn't necessarily been done. But yeah.
Yeah, Duran says, so watch your step if you ever visit Blake.
Yeah, exactly. Watch for dog bombs. This time it's like retic bombs.
Mm.
They're a little bigger usually.
Here's a quick question from Henna J on the YouTube post. She says many people with smaller collections inbreed their snakes and say it's no problem for such a simple animal as a snake. Then she goes on to say, what is your take on breeding close relatives like siblings, cousins, or parents, and what levels do you consider safe?
Well, okay, so considering like line breeding or inbreeding or however you want to define that, I think the ideal is to strive for genetic diversity. So this is one of those things where people are like, it's one of those questions where you're saying, how far is too far? You know, how bad can I do at something before it causes me a problem? I think that's the opposite mindset. Instead, you want to say, how good can I be at this? And if you focus in that direction, you're going to move in the right direction no matter what, and you won't have to worry about this. That being said, oh, sorry, baby. Got a little smack on the face. I'm sorry. That was weird. Apologize. Kissing snakes live on YouTube.
We still don't smell them for heads.
Yeah, that's weird. That's even weirder. Hashtag Patreon jokes. So, that being said, I've seen a lot of things like keeping within Superdoors, going high percentage, and working with the Snow Project that's been worked with the longest. Even the animals that I got back in 2009 to found our projects were like siblings bred together, produce an animal, breed that back to the mom. You know, you're getting pretty heavy in the inbreeding there. And I took it from there and spun them off, and I've been outcrossing them ever since. But that was kind of like what they took to establish it. Any recessive project, guys, has been line bred at some point. And if you continue to line breed, let's say you're the originator of a morph, you have a wild-caught male recessive, whatever, let's say piebald, and you breed it and you make a bunch of het pied females, and you took a lot of time and money to raise and establish those females. Then you breed your original male back to his daughters to get the first pieds. That's usually how these projects are started. That usually isn't too detrimental. But from there, if you're like, you know what, it's cheaper for me to keep all those original females and grow up new ones, so I'm going to keep breeding to them, and maybe I'll breed the pied into this other incomplete dominant morph because I want to make platinum pieds. Then you grab one from there and you breed back that to the original, and you just keep going back to those same ones generation after generation. You're really going to start messing them up. And the things that I've noticed in the Snow projects in other people's lines, that was one of those things where I'm like, okay, I want to steer away from that, is these people that are breeding for like snow to snow, sibling to sibling, after sibling to sibling, they started to get like enlarged hearts, weakened immune system, shortened lifespan, not as many of them hatch, or in some cases almost none of them hatched successfully because the hatchlings were weaker. You want big, strong, healthy babies. It would always be better to have a beautiful wild type that was a strong, healthy baby than have a million morphs in there. So I think, if it's something where a bloodline is super rare and bottlenecked, like the Tom Belongans, you don't have a whole lot of option there. You just try to bring as much genetic diversity as you can. But if you have the option to, there's no reason, unless you're making a brand new morph for the first time, first combo, let's say you're working that pied project and you're tempted to do the process I just explained, I don't know why you would do that if you produce the pieds, because then you could hold back your unrelated ones, and sell everything and reinvest in somebody else's diverse bloodline to bring into your stuff. So I would recommend not trying to be an island unto yourself. Work with other breeders. We do breeding loans on a lot of the rare stuff that we have to encourage genetic diversity. Just work it in the best direction that you can. That was kind of a long rant. Some of these things don't have black and white answers. It's just more about let's do the best we can.
Natalia Prado on the YouTube post had asked, what do you predict is the next big trend in the reptile hobby?
Oh, geez.
That's pretty open-ended. You got 10 minutes to figure it out now.
That's huge. Yeah, that's a really big question. And trends, I don't know, trends aren't always good either, right? Like, there was a trend of people putting fidget spinners on their animals. I don't think that really benefits the animals. You know, I don't know. I don't know what the next big trend is. I'll say what I would love to see is that people can really learn, become students of their animals, learn positive things about them that maybe other people don't know, and establish those for the world. Wouldn't it be cool if instead of putting a fidget spinner on my animal's nose and getting a bunch of views or something, I was able to learn just one thing about this snake that nobody else knows? You know, I've got a buddy, Chris Lansdowne, watches a lot of these.
Super chat.
He comes to me with questions that are so ridiculous. I'm like, I've never even thought to ask that. But if he can find the answers, he knows something new. Super chat. What's up?
Manny Ruella.
What's up, Manny? How's it going?
Want to see my little one, please.
All right. Let's bring him over here. Manny, we're going to have to get you guys this guy quick because you got to ask every week. It's getting crazy. It's getting crazy. All right, let's see. You guys probably remember from last week. Manny, where are you at? Little purple girl. Oh, spilled her water. Oh, looking pretty good. Check this bad animal out. Sick. It's perfect. Look at that. Perfection. Ready to rock. Needs a little water change. Or substrate change. Too soggy. All right. There you go, Manny. What do you think? I like it. What do you guys think about Manny's little purple over here? It's pretty cool. This is one of the 100% het snows. I believe this is the Kiowati Jamp Kalatoa clutch. Got a little bit of everything in there, talking about me being a hypocrite about crosses. This is a pretty hypocritical cross. Got 3 different localities in there from a selective breeding standpoint, you know. That's like a dwarf size retic with a little extra Kalatoa in there just to force that size down pretty hard. Lots of Kiowati because they got tons of color. Jamp for boldness. Trying to make the ultimate purple. We've got a couple purples left, a few lavs from this clutch, and of course a few lav golden childs too. This is clutch 22, 21022 if you want to go on ReachOutReptiles.com and check it out. Did you guys know that there's a breeding?
She has one of the sisters.
Oh yeah. Pretty nice, right, Gina? Gina just took it home. It was a good looking clutch. You guys were here, you saw him in person. Super orange. The golden child's crazy. We sold one more of them today, actually. The lav golden childs from that clutch. They're hot stuff. So sold a few of them in the last week or whatever. So get them quick if you like them. But you can go on ReachOutReptiles.com, see pictures of every baby that we've produced except for the newest clutches. Super chat from Nick Rotolo. Nick says, what do I think about the research being done with UV being more beneficial than previously thought? I think that's awesome. That's an exact, like that is exactly what I'm talking about with more stuff. We have old school keepers that are like, well, I raised 2 generations without UV, so clearly they don't need it. Meanwhile, we don't really have anybody looking at what the effects of that are on the body of the animal. And some of these effects you can't tell over time. I mean, how long were people drinking out of lead cups before we realized it was bad? Because it's all long-term effects. It's not something that, you know, if it killed you right away, you'd quit doing it. So I'm super stoked about that. In fact, you know, one of our big plans, we've talked about this a lot, is a UV, like a strategy to introduce UV light cycling once we get over to the new facility. So I'm stoked on that. I mean, anything that we can do a little bit better by the animals, that's what we like to do. So yeah, keep it going. You know, one thing I would really love to see is, and you guys can comment below, or you can send me a link if you know of stuff like this. I am so tired of hearing people who should be very educated reptile keepers saying things like, you can't overfeed a retic. That's ridiculous. You can overfeed anything. But I don't want to just be me saying it. I would like to say, boom, science said so. You know, I want to see what effect does that have on their internal organs or their growth rates, or, you know, are they stunted? Is their lifespan shortened? What does that actually do if you underfeed or you overfeed a retic? You know, us being super dwarf guys, we get the classic criticism that anyone whoever thought about owning a Superdorf gets, where you're saying, oh, you just feed your snakes to keep them small. That's such stupid logic. If we were doing that, we wouldn't have different bloodlines that we worked with for 20 years to shrink things down. If all you had to do is feed them less, why on earth would you pay more for a different bloodline if it didn't do anything for you? So that's ridiculous. But on the other hand, yeah, you can definitely overfeed snakes too. So I want to see some studies on that stuff. I'd love to get in-depth things. Shoot, if you guys are doing research papers or anything, I will sponsor the studies to find this stuff out, you know, just because I would love to be able to say, here it is, you know. So, but anyway, yeah, that's the stuff I want to see. So, yep. What's up, Thomas? Quiet over there.
Oh, I'm just.
Do you guys want to say hi to Thomas? He's over here getting distracted.
What's up, guys? Oh, I'm looking at the chat right now.
Oh, look at it.
I just like to make sure people know that I see their messages, even though when Garrett is going off on a very educational rant. Why are you pointing the camera down there, Garrett?
I'm just showing what's going on.
All right.
Showing your little setup.
I'm just responding to people in the chat, making sure that they know I read them. Even if
Thomas has been working really hard on these YouTube videos. I think you guys are going to like the one that comes out on Friday. Be sure to check that out. So.
Oh, Duran says not as fun as Jess.
Oh, quick, do something fun.
Twist.
Do something fun. Duran likes
what
it
exactly?
Jess says
the only
mean
fun
things
thing
say something mean to me. That's what Jess does.
Garrett, you talk too much sometimes, and I wish I didn't have to edit you talking so much.
Ouch. Jeez,
Hey.
Thomas. You're fired.
Oh, sweet. Well,
I don't know. He doesn't have the same sense of class as Jess does. It's just kind of
I've been hanging out with you too
painful.
much.
Wow.
Oh, man. Listen, man, you asked for it, all right?
Manny, she eats everything. She'll eat little rat fuzzies or hopper mice. We do live and frozen thawed. We try to get them eating whatever it is that you could possibly want to feed them before they come out. We've even done ASFs with them. So, oh, no Jess hides. Thomas is just normal. That's what he wants. Okay, so ready? You have to giggle and turn red and try to hide. There we go. For everybody that's been missing Jess on the live videos.
I don't fit underneath their videos. Thomas needs to be meaner to you, is what Summer says.
Oh, man.
Jess makes fun of you more, which I miss.
Yeah,
Listen,
that's what Summer
I'm just trying
says.
to keep it professional, but listen,
Summer, you can bring that
I can
energy
break
in the
character.
chat
I can-
section.
yes.
All right.
Hey,
What's
we'll
our next
add some
question?
Moderators for next week.
Moderators to make
Well,
fun
you
of
got-
me in the chat.
No,
Yeah,
no, no,
thanks.
the moderators can control
How
things.
is
So we'll
this
just
going?
give the people we trust,
Oh,
the power.
okay. All right.
Shoot, man. Well, we got 2 minutes, but
2 minutes. Go, go,
something
go.
worth acknowledging quick is there was a guy in here who'd asked a question on the post that was like a long, in-depth answer about an allergy thing, but we can get back to you on that post. I just wanted to acknowledge that.
Okay,
He was, like,
Bob
pretty
Evan
scared
wants
about
to
his
know what's
snake,
my
but-
favorite morph holdback from this year. From this year. So that discounts a lot of, we had a lot of cool stuff last year. Oh gosh, do the goat lines count as morphs? I really like the goat line. That's pretty cool. They're just getting better and better, like that Tom DeLonge with the yellow head. The goat line, for those of you guys that don't know, are Superdorf Sulawesi's, where we actually shrunk down a mainland locality, which should be pretty fun. But I don't know. This is really simple, but there are some things that I'm just too excited about. So this is a 62.5% Kalatoa tiger that is possible het pied. He's my holdback I chose because I thought he was the most likely to be a het pied. And we are going to try to make some Superdorf pieds here pretty soon. 62.5, super high
Bob Rick
percentage.
Evans says the goats vanished Friday night.
A couple of them did, yeah. I better go check, make sure all mine are still there, huh? Yeah. No, they were good. It was good stuff. Everybody liked them. It was funny. Kim was here. Kim helps a lot of you guys when you email us like info@Out Reptiles asking about animals. And she's like, no, we don't have any goat lines left. And I was like, yeah, we do. We have 2 males available. And she goes, oh, can I see them? And she held them, and she walked out here to Crowd and Retic Fest. And 2 of you guys that I'm pretty sure are here in the chat ended up snatching them up. She walks back in the room 30 seconds. She goes, now we don't have any left. So that was pretty funny. But Anyways, well, I think that's it. That's it for us, right?
Yo,
Do you wanna-
Summer says the goat herd.
The goat herd.
What am I supposed to say?
End us. Sign us off.
So there will be a post coming shortly if we missed any of your questions. Is there anything else? Make sure to catch our YouTube videos every Friday.
Community, post your questions.
Yes.
That's what he's reading off of every week, guys.
It's super helpful if you get your questions in through there, because then we can like have something that carries the show. Otherwise, it's just going to be Garrett ranting off the top of his head, which is very entertaining, but it's long-winded. So, with that being said, I hope you guys have a great rest of your night. Patreon people, we'll see you in just a minute.